Alright, what's up guys, it's Zero here, and today I have for you a deck profile for Gear Chronicle. So, new clan Zero, new era in Zero, the poster child of G, Mr. Chrono Shindo with his Gear Chronicle deck. Took me a while to get fully optimize the G's that I personally wanted for the deck. I could have done this a little earlier, but I was missing my third Fate Rider, and I just recently got it, so I figured I'd do it now. Just a little bit of warning for it. I don't know when I'm going to get to do Royals because with how I've reset my boxes, I have one Saint Blow and I'd like a second copy before showing the deck off. So that could be who knows how long. So that's besides the point. For Gears is my deck profile. So we'll go from top to bottom like usual. So yeah. So first off, my starter choice actually is not the Gunner Gear Draco Kid. I personally choose to play the Timepiece Draco Kid. So this is the generic grade 3 searcher, CB1, put a soul check top 5 at grade 3 to hand. I think Gunner Gear just isn't a good card because when you play in the mirror, if you go first, you don't get your starter. Your starter just gets yeeted away. You just don't get to use it. Also, securing your Chronojet ride for your first ride is super important in this deck, I think. So and Gunner Gear cannot fetch it for you because it's GB1. So I do think having an extra card to let you get to your Chronojet ride is much more important than getting stride fodder for later. That's basically what all Gunner Gear is good for. So yeah. Also, early on, being able to put yourself in a soul extra means you can use your GGs early too. So that's pretty nice. So yeah, I just don't think Gunner Gear is a good card for this. It's a particularly good starter. So yeah. That's it for my starter. So grade 1s, I play 2 at the GG. So this is the on-play Soul Blast 2 draw card. Drawing is always nice. Fate Rider can always toss this back into make it a grade 2, which is really cool. And yeah, it's just a nice card. And it's never bad. These cards are never bad to have, right? Soul Blast 2 draw card, always nice to have. Next up, we're playing 3 at the Maki, I think is her name. This thing's skill is very simple, on-play Soul Charge 1. So the reason why we play 3 of this is because this deck is actually super soul intensive. This deck uses a lot of soul, and it's, you already see the GG. Glimmer Breath is 1 soul. The mate to the Ruin Disposal is 1 soul. Chronos Command, if you use it, is 1 soul. It doesn't come out that often, but it is a soul that gets used. And these skills are stuff that you use quite often, or often enough that you do actually need the extra soul from this card. I really do not want to be playing it, but again, this deck really needs the extra soul, and this is the only way to play it without having to play the Strider crits, which I think are horrendously terrible, which I'll get to when we get to the triggers. So yeah, 3 of this card. It's here for its skill of it gets you an extra soul, which is yeah. Next up is the Steam Breath Dragon. Where it's the stride fodder. On place, you can discard a card, search your deck for a Chronojet, and then stride fodder in hand. If you're dishing for stride, it gets counted as +2 grades. So yeah, this deck's entire game plan is striding. Obviously, you play 4 of it. It can also dig you your main ride if you need to. There's no reason not to play 4. I think playing any 4 is just any less than 4 is just wrong. And finally, we played the 4 PGs. This is the only PG Gears have. They don't have any of the older PGs. So yeah. Not that you'd play those even if you had those, right? This is the countercharge PG, so yeah. Yeah, obviously PGs are PGs, not much to say there. Onwards to grade 2, I play 4 of the mate. I don't remember his name, but he is the mate to the Ruin Disposal, the Legion. His skill is when attacking a Vanguard, you can Soul Blast 1, and you make it so your opponent cannot guard with grade 0s. Meaning, if your opponent guards it, they have to use a PG to guard. They can't use their heal cards to guard, which is really good because this deck's main win con is basically turning off your opponent's healers and forcing them to have all their PGs instead. That's what this deck is really good at, and this card is one of your primary win cons to do that, so there's no reason not to play 4 of this card in my opinion. Also happens to be the mate to the Legion as well, so that makes it pretty good as well. Next up is 3 of the deer. It looks like a deer to me. It's a Bellicostic on hit countercharge 1. You can do the good old classic, use starter, turn 2, ride this thing, and then unflip 1. But countercharge is nice in the deck. This deck does burn through its counterblast quite often. You're basically using 1 every turn to bot deck something, so countercharge is always nice. Next up is the 2 of the Ishin. So her skill is GB1. When your opponent's card is bot deck, you can see when she gets the skill, your opponent cannot guard grade 0, so same as this dude, but it costs counterblast instead, and it's tied to a GB1. And the timing is super awkward too, so the guard trick skill rarely ever comes up. She is basically just here as a filler 2 to that has resist. She also has resist. You can treat this card as a 9k intercept with resist that can sometimes guard restrict. It doesn't come up too often, but the resist does come up because you don't need no requirement for that, right? So yeah, they're pretty nice. Just to fill it too, if you don't want to play this, you can play like Relic Master, the Berserk Dragon that bot decks GB 112k attacker. That's fine too. But I personally found some pretty good use for the Ishin. I definitely like it. It's pretty good in the mirror. Pretty okay against Kagero as well. So definitely, I think it's a nice card you can have to have, just because playing less of it is fine, because Fate Rider can tutor it out for you, which is so there's no reason to play like too many copies of it. You tutor it when you need it. And finally, the last card, the 4 is the Glimmer Breath. So his skill is a GB1 on place. You can, if your Vanguard's a Chronojet, so you have to be on Chronojet. You can Soul Blast 1, Counter Blast 1, bot deck a rear, and then it gets 2k. So importantly, it's a very cheap source of intercept removal, and it also, but most importantly, it turns itself into a solo attacker. This deck is very much like the old Kagero kind of thing, where you struggle to get boosters sometimes. So this thing being a solo attacker is very, very important, and that's honestly the reason why I play 4 of it. The bot deck is nice, but you don't do it too often. You don't do it all the time. But the main reason why it's here is because it's a solo attacker, or can be a solo attacker. Unfortunately, you have to pay cost to do it. You can't just get 2k without having to pay cost of bot deck. So yeah. But regardless, it's nice because it's a solo attacker. So yeah. So 4 for this dude, and that's it for grade 2. And onwards to grade 3s, or I guess triggers in this case. 4 of the man himself, the Chronojet Dragon. So his skill is GB2. When attacking Vanguard, gets 5k, and your opponent wants to guard with the PG. They also have to discard grade 3. So Glory Guard Restrict. And then the stride bonus skill is when you stride, you can CB1. Starting top of Chronojet, you can CB1 to bot deck an opponent's rear guard, and then on place plus 3k. So you can scale if you're going first, which is cool, I guess. But yeah, it's mainly here. It's your main right because you can use Rune Disposal while on it, and the bot deck skill is really good. The guard restrict skill comes up sometimes, not too often, just because with how the deck ends up working. Sometimes you end up like guard restricting them to PG, and then they just heal guard you anyways. And if you don't do it, then they have to have the PG and the grade 3. So like the guard restrict there, it's there when you know you can use it to confirm lethal. But it's mainly here for the stride bonus skill, where you can buy like a rear CB1 to retire, to basically get rid of intercept or a booster or whatever is never bad to have, right? And then next up, 4 of the Legion, the Ruin Disposal. He legions with the grade 2, this dude that has guard restrict, and his skill is on Legion, you buy deck something, and then on attack to Vanguard, you can CB1. He gets 3k, and choose one of your opponent's grade 1 or higher. Let me actually confirm this. I don't remember if it's grade 1 or higher or lower. Give me 1 second. Ruin Disposal. He is grade 1 or lower. So you buy deck boosters and stuff. So yeah, you on attack to Vanguard, you can CB1 to give it 3k, and you can butt deck one of your opponent's grade 1 or lower rears. Keep in mind, this second skill is not tied to Legion, and you can just CB1 for 3k power if you need to. But yeah, it's like an okay backup ride. More importantly, it has Legion, so you can recycle your triggers if you need to. But yeah, your main ride, Chronojet, you really only do this if you're about to deck out, have no other ways to buy because you're at Counter Blast, or just want to Legion for whatever reason instead of staying on Chronojet. But it's definitely a nice option to have. And the final one of is the Fate Wheel. This card is what GB1. When attacking Vanguard, your opponent can't guard grade 0s, and on play Soul Blast 1, Counter Blast 1, a bot deck a grade 1 or lower. It's filler 1 of. I just play this because I think it looks cool, and it doesn't matter. It just has to be grade 3. And finally, for the Ududu, the Heal Guard, 15k shield in hand, heal trigger, very nice. And finally, as to why I'm not playing the crits, this deck has way too many on-hit effects. It's actually a few reasons. One, you have on-hit effects where you need them to hit when you're going for them. Getting screwed out of a Chronos command or a Lost Age is like kind of whatever, but if you flip a crit on a Mystery Flare turn where you needed the Mystery Flare to hit to potentially win against, obviously if you're going for Mystery Flare, you're probably in a situation where you need this to hit to even come close to winning. If you flip the crit, you check for their 1 PG, and then you die afterwards. So stuff like Mystery Flare is Mystery Flare, Lost Age, Chronos Command, stuff like that. And the fact that you have a bunch of on-hit effects makes it so that the crits are just, they add a layer of extra RNG to your deck, where sometimes you need something to hit and then you flip the crit and then you don't hit them because you guarded with something. Definitely, there's that. Another reason is since they're grade zeros, they can't be used as stride fodders. If you play, even if you don't play that many of them, you still might run into situations where you have grade zeros in hand and not stride fodder, and you'll be wishing you were playing that. I don't want to run into any of that. I just don't want to run into any of that inconsistency, so I don't even bother playing like any of them. The one upside that they do have is that they don't feel too bad to draw into because it's soul and it's soul and it cycles a card, cycles itself for a card. It's not the worst thing to draw into, but I really just am not a fan of these Strider crits, and I really don't think you should be playing them. But hey, that's just my opinion, right? If you want to play the Strider crits, go be my guest. I just think that they're very suboptimal and you should not be playing them. But hey, if you like them, you like them, right? I can't stop you from playing them. And finally, the G-Zone. First off, the three Freight Riders. I think this is by far the best stride in the deck. I think any list that's playing 4 Riding Clocks is just wrong, because the card, you rarely ever do you need the second set of Riding Clocks, but Fate Rider, but 3, sometimes even 4 Fate Rider strides does come up. I definitely think the deck with 1 is absolutely not enough. 2 is the bare minimum. I think 3 is like the very comfy number, but his skill is once per turn, no cost. So this is so nothing. Keep in mind, nothing here is cost. So I'll read over the skill first, and I'll tell you why no cost actually makes a difference. So no cost. You bot deck one of your own rears, and then you search your deck for a rear that is grade +1 to the thing that you bot decked, and then for every face-up card in your G zone, you can give a unit plus 3k. So if you try this first, you give no power. If you try this second, you can give it something 3k power. It can be itself, it can be a booster, it can be on the rear. If you have multiple cards face up, you can give 3k to multiple cards. Just keep in mind you can't give 3k to the same card twice. And yeah, so this card basically just lets you cycle. So you turn grade 1, and you turn heals or your starter into a better booster. Usually it's GG, or you can turn your excess boosters into grade 2s and then power them up to make them solo attack and stuff like that. So very, very nice. The reason why no cost is important to note here is you can put something back and not get anything out of it. So if, for example, if you're putting back like a grade 0 and you just don't have any grade 1s in your deck and you didn't check your deck beforehand, you just neg yourself 1. You put a card back and you don't get anything out of it. Because it isn't a cost, yeah, you can put it back and not get anything out of it. So yeah, just something to note. It doesn't come too often, but it is important to note that you should probably be checking your deck before you use Fate Rider. Next up is 2 Ragnar Clocks. So its skill is on attack to Vanguard, CB1 G Persona flip, so flip a copy of itself, and this card gets grade 0 guard restricts. Your opponent cannot guard grade 0s, and then if your G zone has 2 or more face-up cards, so basically GB2 at this point, if this thing gets a crit, and you bot deck one of your opponent's rear guards. So you never go for this first ride. You just don't, because if your opponent's not at 5, this thing doesn't do anything, right? Because he doesn't get the crit. Yeah, basically this thing's a way to either push damage or just guard restrict 3 columns with the grade 2 that guard restricts, and then this thing if you're bot decking all their intercepts. It's like an okay finisher, but a lot of times what you end up using with this card is that you use it to like push them to 5, and then you can guard trick them afterwards on a following turn. So nice to have. I definitely do not think you need 4 of this card. I think 4 of this card is way too much. You rarely ever need the second set, because the games don't last that long to begin with, right? Because you'd be going first stride, second stride into this thing, third stride into this thing, and then you probably want to try something else after. You probably don't want to try this thing twice, so yeah. And finally, 3 Tech 1 of choices. For me, it's 1 Chronos command. So on hit the Vanguard, Soul Blast 1, Counter Blast 2 to bot deck all of your opponent's rears. With how 0 works in this game, you have to clear intercepts first. So meaning this thing will bot deck like 3 cards at most. I guess grade 3 as well in the front row, but this thing bot deck with 2 boosters usually. What this thing does. You don't go into this card very often, but in matchups where it does matter, i.e. stuff that needs a board to push damage, i.e. something like Nova Grapplers or Royal or Alt Miles, this card is a super hard punish against them, because the instant they commit and you block like, all the boosters, they need to replay down an entire board down to do the push again. So yeah, I definitely think it's important to have as a one-of, but I definitely do not think you need more than one of it. Next up, another one-of is the Lost Age. This thing is on hit to Vanguard, bot deck a card. Now, this card is basically a cheaper alternative to the Chronos command cost-wise. If you're not bot decking multiple cards, you go into this thing instead and bot deck the one card if you need to. But yeah, this card is comes up every once in a while, but after getting your Fate Riders, you usually just end up striding Fate Riders over and over again. Rarely ever do you go for this, but sometimes you do, and it's nice to have. And finally, the last one of is Mystery Flare Dragon. So this thing's skill is on hit to Vanguard, Counterblast 4. Pretty expensive, right? Well, the payoff is there. You check the top 3 cards of your deck, and if those 3 cards all have different grades, you get an extra turn. If it's not, you shuffle those cards back and you countercharge 4 to refund the cost. So this card is seems like a meme, right? Seems like it never happens, right? The math has been done. This card is statistically likely to have a 45% success rate, or somewhere around there. Roughly a 45% success rate for the extra turn, which for an effect this strong is quite high, I think. This card did very much get buffed to 0. You only have to check 3 different grades, not 4 different grades like it is IRL. But this card is definitely a nice comeback card, rob your opponent card that you hate losing to but love winning with. Yeah, this card deserves a slot in the deck just because this card is sometimes this is your only way to win the game. So it's there because sometimes you just need to win with it. I personally have been keeping track of mystery flares after success and failure rate. I think my like 20-ish uses of mystery flare, both from me and my opponent. I think the success rate is like slightly above 50%, so the data roughly checks out, I guess. This card hits way more often than you think it would, and it definitely will win you more games than you think it would, so yeah. So yeah, this is my deck profile for Gear Chronicle. Tell me guys what you think about down below in the comments. If you're a global player, tell me if you are excited for this deck. Awesome games for you guys as per usual after this, and I will see you guys next time. Peace out.